Morgan just made it even more clear that she's not really on Roxanne's side, so we'll see what that's about. We'll also check out what's up with JD McDonagh, Raquel, and more. Starting things off with the latest for everything in the world of the Judgment Day for the June 22nd edition of Raw. This was another big episode for the longtime faction, and a lot of different things were happening with several of the group's members. The subplot here for the Judgment Day was most definitely everything with Dominik and JD. They went to Danhausen to get their $100,000 back that they apparently paid Danhausen last week for their failed attempt to curse Obafemi. But Danhausen informs them that he already spent that money on several new devices and equipment. And when a little argument bursted out there, Danhausen proceeded to curse JD, and within seconds later, the curse came into effect when JD touched something in the room and got electrocuted. So JD becomes the latest victim to get electrocuted by Danhausen's room. The Miz, Kit Wilson, Matt Cardona, and now JD have all been electrocuted by Danhausen's equipment. And the story so far is that getting electrocuted in Danhausen's room leads to drastic changes mentally and personality-wise. For The Miz and Kit Wilson, they probably got it the worst because they're pretty much zombies. They're stuck in one place just repeating their own catchphrases. For Matt Cardona, he was able to walk away, but he's been saying and using a lot of his old catchphrases from his Zack Ryder days. And now we got JD, who so far is exhibiting completely different symptoms than the other victims. When it comes to JD, it seems like what he suffered the most after getting electrocuted was intense memory loss. JD didn't recognize anybody after getting shocked the way he did. He offered to shake Adam Pearce's hand and confused Adam Pearce with being a doctor he was looking for in the medical room. We even saw JD try to shake Raquel and Roxanne's hands as well, since in his current mind, he thought he was meeting them for the first time as well. So the writing when it comes to understanding Danhausen's electricity is a bit inconsistent because everyone so far gets slightly different effects. JD is now suffering from a full memory wipe, and we'll have to see how they play that out. Will his memory slowly return, or will they keep JD like this for a bit? If JD has no memory of meeting his other Judgment Day members, this could mean that JD has no memory of everything that happened with Finn getting kicked out of the group. So maybe he could even ask about Finn, and that'll lead to a pretty awkward conversation there. It may be a bit of a wonky story, but at least JD finally has his big side story going on for himself, and we'll see what they turn that into. But now turning things back over to the women of the Judgment Day, things are continuing to be quite messy there. Despite Raquel and Roxanne being eliminated from the Queen of the Ring tournament, Liv Morgan made it to the finals, so there was still some Judgment Day representation in the tournament. Morgan and Sky met in the ring to exchange some words, and a brawl even broke out that left Liv Morgan embarrassed and sitting on the floor. This led to another backstage segment for the Judgment Day's entire group. The segment starts off with Raquel and Roxanne talking to each other. Raquel is furious about letting recent opportunities slip through her fingers and how she can't afford for that to keep happening. Roxanne says she's happy that Liv is in the finals, but how she wishes Raquel and herself had something to celebrate too. That's when Liv Morgan comes in complaining about what just happened to her and how she plans on humiliating Sky at Night of Champions. And Raquel does what no one has really done to Liv in recent weeks, and that's to actually call Liv out for only focusing on herself. Raquel tells Liv to look around the room and see that all of the Judgment Day members are struggling right now and not doing so well. Raquel points out how Dominik lost $100,000, how JD got electrocuted, and how Roxanne and herself thought it would be Liv and Raquel in the finals at Night of Champions. Liv vowed that everything is under control and will be okay. Liv said she'll be the new double champion and how Raquel will become the new intercontinental champion. And while Liv is saying this, even explaining what Dominik and JD have to focus on, you can sort of see Roxanne put her head down and appear to be sad because Liv is fully leaving her out of all these big plans. Roxanne finally speaks to Liv and asks about herself and what they'll do to make things right for her. But before Liv can give an answer to Roxanne, Liv storms out of the room to help get JD to the medical room and ignores Roxanne's question. So another segment here that really highlights all the character flaws for Liv Morgan that we've been speaking about for weeks now. She does not really care for anything that's not about herself. In recent weeks, we argued that maybe she cares for Dominik the most out of the group and doesn't ignore his issues. But at least here on June 22nd, Liv even ignored Dominik's issues and how he lost $100,000. Liv did not even care one bit about that story from Dominik at all, and was still just focusing on her own issues. It's not a good sign at all when the supposed leader couldn't care less about the issues in the group and is always just worried about herself. And credit to Raquel for calling Liv out on that fact and forcing Liv to really read the room and take a look around at what they were all going through. And the craziest part of all is that even after getting called out by Raquel to pay attention to the group's issues and their individual problems, Liv still leaves Roxanne out of the equation. Liv has words of motivation and goals in place for everyone except for Roxanne, who she has absolutely no words for. So that continues to grow the gap there and continues to distance Roxanne from Liv and the rest of the group. It's interesting though that Raquel is showing some deep frustration with Liv and the group. Maybe that's a sign that if Roxanne plays her cards right, maybe she'll be able to flip Raquel against Liv Morgan as well. That card definitely seems in play as long as Raquel continues to struggle and lose matches. But it will be tough to do because obviously Liv and Raquel's friendship is deep and goes back even before the days of the Judgment Day. So it'll be a challenge to flip Raquel for sure. But this segment right here really confirmed what everyone had already figured out, and that's the fact that Liv has no plans for Roxanne and doesn't prioritize her at all. So it's no doubt going to get to the point where Roxanne has to ask herself what she is even doing in the Judgment Day if the group just ignores her existence and pays no attention to her. At that point, she truly is better off on her own. As far as what's next for the women of the Judgment Day for the immediate future, it's highly expected that Sky will beat Liv Morgan to become Queen of the Ring, and then turn around and use that world title opportunity to face Liv again at SummerSlam in a rematch where the world title will be on the line this time around, in quite possibly what could be Liv's first world title defense. So with Sky versus Morgan being planned for SummerSlam, that eliminates the idea of Roxanne leaving the Judgment Day before that event. Seems like Roxanne leaving the Judgment Day is still several months away from happening. And Raquel, she may do exactly what Liv said, and that's go after Sol Ruca in the Women's Intercontinental title. And for Roxanne Perez, as long as she's a member of the Judgment Day, it's hard to see her having any amount of success. It seems like we can expect her to continue her losing streak, continue to let opportunities slip through her fingers, and continue that spiral of growing frustrated with Liv and the group. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.